All of these things are just phases, short phases or longer phases. And the sooner you realize that in parenting, the easier it gets to just wait the phases out or adapt to them. And ultimately, you're only living in a house with your kids for a short amount of time.
We were sort of talking last time about like not hiding kid stuff, like not like, oh, I'm running late, but like I'm running late because my son was having a really tough morning, or like, I just like, no, sorry, I can't stay that late. Like I have to do X, like making kids not an excuse, but like not this, like they're the reason you do so much of what you do. So it's not like, don't like hide it or pretend otherwise. But I keep thinking back to that thing that Dolores told me about how, Dolores is like sort of my grandmother, but she was talking about how people would go like, it doesn't look like you have kids, like because her house was so clean. Mm-hmm. And she like took pride in that. But in retrospect, feels like, why was I like sort of prioritizing that so much? And I think like, it's like, do I have to make sure my kids are quiet like while I'm on the phone? Like it's part of my life. This is how it is. Like I don't have like I think people spend a lot of energy and a lot of like sort of even like parental authority trying to pretend like that's not what their life is like all the time. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, you never dress this way, and then you're dressing this way this one time in this job interview. Like, just embrace who you are and what your life is, because it's true. And if everyone sort of if everyone disarmed at the same time, we'd realize like we're all going through like more stuff at the same time. But instead, everyone's kind of pretending, and it makes other people feel insecure.
Masking.
Do you know what I mean? Yes.
Yes. Also, we have talked about this previously, but all of these things are just phases. Like everything that our kids go through are phases, and like short phases or longer phases. And the sooner you realize that in parenting, the easier it gets to just wait the phases out or adapt to them, but like get confident in the fact that you're just like in a phase and whatever. And ultimately, you're only living in a house with your kids for a short amount of time.
Sure.
Sometimes the messes that you have in your home, like you were talking about with Dolores, I feel like insanely overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like I am living in a kid's home.
Right.
Especially the way that like our house is set up. Like immediately when you walk in the door, it's just like there's kids stuff everywhere. There's kids shoes everywhere. There's kids clothes everywhere. There's kids water bottles everywhere. And it doesn't matter.
Hockey equipment everywhere. It's just
it doesn't matter. There's like there's just things.
Yeah.
And then it's sometimes it takes a perspective shift. But for me, it's nice to remember that like that's only going to be there.
Well, and the phase shifts like that, right? For 4 years, for several years, we did not have a coffee table in our living room. We had a Lego building table.
Yeah.
And it made our house look crappy, and it made our like
green Lego table.
It looked like it totally changed the shape because you walk into our house, you're like in the living room, and it's just like, this is not like an adult's house. This is like a children's house, and it just made it impossible. You couldn't sit and eat things on that. And then just like 3 weeks ago, that changed. That they wanted, like, it went upstairs because upstairs is now where they're playing. And like we have a coffee table again, and it's like it never happened. Oh. And so like you spend this time like either pretending it's not the case or feeling guilty about it, and then 1 second it shifts, and then the irony is then you kind of miss it, and you no longer feel bad about it, and it's just gone. So like the idea that you're like, oh, it's so. The pool fence ruins our view. At some point, it will go back to not having the pool fence.
Never get rid of that pool fence.
But it's just there. It's not forever. And just if you accept that it's not forever, you can just be much chiller about things and less hard on them and on yourself about it.
Yes. It's also, I have two thoughts on this. One, the strollers, like our garage and our porch and our driveway, we've just been tripping over strollers and using strollers for
our garage is a graveyard of strollers.
It's just a graveyard, and I'm like, we have to get rid of these.
Right.
And I mean, I feel like How can we get rid of them?
There's
We've had,
no
thousands and
circumstances in
thousands
which
of
we
miles.
need a single stroller anymore.
No.
Right?
It's just sitting there.
And it's just sitting there, and you don't like. I think about the
You're not
miles.
orders.
I think about the miles that you put on them, and I think about the memories that are in them. I also think about how much money they cost.
What did we do to you?
And so,
Yeah.
but actually, I did a Daily Dad entry about this. Yeah, your garage is a great.
Are you going to put that in your museum with your fucking writing chair, Ryan?
Yeah. No, the garage is a graveyard, right, of stuff. Like, first off, you don't use any of the stuff forever.
Well, our
but then
garage
it
is
goes.
also a barn.
Well, now, yeah, you're keeping your ducks in there.
Am I the one that suggested putting the ducks in the barn? I mean, sorry, in the garage.
Well, for people listening, what happened is you signed up without talking to me about it to get 6 ducks that you said were trained, that could be on a timer, and then that turned out to not be the truth.
I asked.
So then I had
don't
to
have that.
I had to choose between either letting them live in the garage or dealing with you being sad that they were picked off one by one by raccoons.
Look, it's not my fault that they just decided that they're like too bougie to live in our freaking pond.
But anyways, back to the but realizing that these things are all the crib. I think about the chair in Jones's room. Like, there's really not a reason to have that chair, but you don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to carry it. And so you have this stuff, and this stuff is all sort of monuments to phases that are not there anymore.
But I will tell you, if I was a new mom, and really up until like, I don't know, one of our kids is like 3, and I saw this or heard this or someone told me to this, I would be ragey. I feel like the number of times that someone's like, oh, enjoy this, or like these phases pass so quickly. Like, I don't need that perspective. Like, you don't need that perspective when you're that new into parenting.
I don't know.
Did you?
Know. I'll give you an example. Like, I remember there, like, Clark and I used to have this one sort of version of the bedtime routine, and then he like shifted it, and it was like, oh, whoa, that's gone. And then he like went back like a couple weeks later, and it was like, if I wasn't sort of being conscious about how like it is a phase and you only get to do them so long, I would have like missed. Like, it gives you an appreciation. I think you should be like,
or like I needed to discover it on my own, maybe. But maybe that's just my own personality.
Yeah, I mean, I think knowing that everything is a phase and then really appreciating, using that to change how you think about things, I do think that's important.
We're just going through a phase in our relationship.
I think that would imply you're changing.
I am changing.
Exactly the same.
I'm getting more tired of your shit. You're getting more tired of my shit. We're getting more patient with our kids and less with each other.
But then also, they're in Blue Nights, the Joan Didion book. She's talking about how like, she loses her husband and her daughter like in quick succession, and so people were like, well, you always have this stuff to remember them by. And as she would like go through the stuff, she was saying like, instead of feeling like, oh, I have this, these are the first plane tickets, and this is all she was feeling was that all it was for her tragically was reminders that she didn't appreciate those moments enough while she was in them. And so like when you think about like, okay, your garage is kind of a graveyard of like strollers and cribs and toys that they don't play with. How often were you actually present for that thing? Why
are you smiling through that? Are you okay?
Are you okay?
I'm appreciating this moment in time with my cat.
This is a moment with your cat.
Is it a moment with you?
No, it's a work thing.
I have plenty.
It's a work thing.
You talk about stoicism enough. I live in the moment. I'm ready.
You don't live in the moment. You go from fleeting, fluttering moment to moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. So the point is, it's not that you just have these things that you don't want to throw away because they're memories. They can also be, if you go, oh yeah, like, don't tell me everything's a phase or that it goes by so fast. It's actually like when people are saying that, they're saying it because from experience, like they didn't fully appreciate those things at the time. And they're trying to save you some heartbreak and sadness in the future, which you will inevitably feel.
Yes, but I'm saying that like as a new mom or as a new parent, that did not resonate with me. It was like condescending. It was like saying to me like sleep now or sleep when the baby sleeps. Like it was like, I think that there is a different way that I could have received that message.
What would be a better way to phrase it so someone actually hears that? Because it is true. There's all this like sort of condescending and practical advice, or just it's not worded in a way that could reach you, and then you only get it later.
I think that I was massively unprepared for the amount of like the psychological, emotional, and physical warfare of parenting. And none of the advice or small tidbits that people threw my way were digested. And I think that it might be that it was so much for everybody that it's like this thing that, especially early parenting, is like this thing that people like survived or not, they're hardened to it, or it just felt like there's no way that everybody went through this thing that I am going through and came out the other end. So am I experiencing it harder than everyone else did or worse than everyone else did? Or is everyone just lied to me about what this is like my entire life? And then to have conversations with people about it. And then I'm the type of person where I'm like, instead of having casual conversations about the weather, I'm like, let's have like a in 2 seconds, like let's get to the like deepest, darkest parts of your soul. And then they're like, just appreciate the phases and the moments. And I'm like, no, I want to know like how you survived the like 4 month, like your adrenaline wearing off from like not sleeping 4 months into having a baby or whatever. And like or like being faced with like raising somebody who's just a reflection of yourself and having to like mirror your deepest, darkest secrets and trauma. And I'm getting these like tidbits of just like nonsense from people. So just let's have a casual conversation about that.
No, I don't know. I don't know if I think it's nonsense. I think it's not
that it's nonsense. It's just like a shallow.
Yes,
like,
there's definitely sort of shallow patronizing.
I think that's why people are like desperate for guidance once they become parents. Like is it that we weren't looking before we became parents because we didn't know that we needed help? Or is it once we become parents we're like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, people don't ask for advice for stuff they're not doing yet.
Well, yes, but like there's no
look, there's a bunch of things that you get told like okay, you go like, hey, you think that making a lot of money or hitting the best, so you think these accomplishments are going to do something for you, and they're not, right? And then you can sort of take that advice, and then it's not until you actually experience it that you understand the wisdom of that at another level. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of parenting advice that's sort of ineffable until you've actually experienced it. But I think there's a reason people repeat the same things over and over again. The ones like sleep all day sleep are just like sort of impractical. That's dumb. But the idea of like you only get this many summers or it goes by fast. The reason people are saying that is because it is the perennial biggest problem that you have, which is that time does go by very fast and you're so in the thick of it. And then almost everyone that comes out of the other side thinks back and goes, well, I wish I'd done it more like this.